Alright, this video is listing the problems I've seen with the Noah's Flood myth. If you think you have an answer for it, post it in the comments section. If you have one that you'd like to add to it, post it in the comments section. I don't like reading because it's kind of a little boring, but there's enough of these I had to take notes. So, problem 1, the water. Where did it come from? Because we don't get enough water if we melt the ice caps, and there isn't enough water stored in clouds to flood the earth however many feet it is above the top of Mount Everest. Problem 2 also has to deal with water. Where did it go if it was here? All the water that's been subducted into the mantle under the crust isn't enough water to answer this question, even if combined with ice caps and water from the clouds. Then there's the problem of actually building the ark. It's frickin' huge. 450 feet long by 50 feet wide by 45 feet tall. A family is not going to be able to do this by themselves, because you have to cut down all the trees for the wood, cut those into the right shape, build the fucking boat, and the boat can't be on the ground because it'll rot, so you have to build all the framework to keep it up off the ground. It's a bit of a challenge for one family. Not all the animals we see today would have lived within walking distance of Noah. And there's going to be the bull crap thing of, well, God sent the animals to him, so we didn't have to go. Kangaroos. They live on Australia. You know what surrounds Australia? An ocean. Then we have the predator animals and the prey animals. Some animals eat other animals. It's in their nature. It's what they do. You're going to have to keep them separate, otherwise you're going to have a few animals go missing. Another problem is all the animals getting back to their isolated locations. The Bible doesn't mention anything about Noah making the rounds, dropping the penguins off in Antarctica, dropping the kangaroos off in Australia, dropping the polar bears off up in the North Pole. And even as big as the ship was supposed to have been, it's not going to be big enough to hold all of the animals, because it has a square footage, if you take those dimensions, multiply them, of 1,012,500 cubic feet. And if you can use even 90% of that for storage, you get 911,250 feet. The volume of the Empire State Building is 37 million cubic feet. And I doubt you could fit 2 of every animal in that. Also, you need room to store food and water. I don't know if you ever drank salt water, but don't. Also, Noah's ship would not have been seaworthy. Bigger vessels than that ship have been built completely out of wood with modern technology, and they sunk carrying smaller loads. His ship would have been torn apart by the forces of the ocean and its weight. And then after this supposed flood, everything has to spread back out. And it has to do it extremely quickly. And people don't multiply fast enough for this to coincide with history. I mean, China's flourishing civilization, building of the pyramids. Then there's plants. You have to replant all of the plants, because if you submerge a land plant underwater for 40 plus days, it kind of dies. So you have to repopulate all the plants, which if all the plants except, you know, what you can fit on a ship are dead, the oxygen production is going to be cut for a while. And there's genetics. With so few specimens of each animal, everything should have inbred into sterility. The cheetah population has been reduced to something like 10,000 in the past, and now cheetahs don't reject skin grafts from any other cheetah because they're all so closely related through not being diverse enough, and they have a high mortality rate from most diseases. You would kind of see that in everything if everything was reduced just to a handful of mating pairs. Also, geology doesn't show us a flood happened. There'd just be this washout pattern everywhere with erosion. It's not like that. You have these mountains and stuff. Also, the salination problem. You would have either killed off all the freshwater fish or all the saltwater fish, however you want to argue the salinity of the flood. So unless you're going to start believing in super evolution, you can't have a flood and all the fish we have today. And then the following don't apply to all of the flood stories out there, just certain special peoples. Like water could not have shaped the continents from 1 into the 7, because the amount of energy being transferred from the water to the land to move it would have heated everything up a lot, to the point where Earth would be molten again. The ice shield that would have provided all the supposed water, thanks Hovid, well, one, it couldn't have stayed up there, it would have just fell down and smushed us, but supposing it could, it would have blocked out the sun, and everything would have froze to death. And then the increased air pressure making everything grow larger, when all that would suddenly be released, everything would kind of die again from all the bubbles in their blood. And this one goes out to Nephilim. The ice on the moon could not have come from the flooding of the Earth, supposed flooding, because there is no natural force that can propel water that far. Also, getting water to travel fast enough to reach orbital speeds would also heat it up. When you heat water up, it tends to turn to vapor. The ice meteor suggested by Hovid, surprise, surprise, that would have killed us too. It wouldn't have frozen everything. It would have flash vaporized a lot of crap and killed us all. And the flood being supposedly powerful enough to carve the Grand Canyon in 5 minutes and, you know, separate one continent into 7, would not have left any animals or plants intact enough to fossilize. It'd be like a massive blender. We would find like 8 bones, dinosaur bones, fish bones, kind of all jammed into one hodgepodge monster. And this one's for Conservapedia. Volcanoes are not a transportation system for small animals. I don't know if you've been near volcanoes, but they're hot, and they have lots of poisonous gas. Cute little fluffy animals don't mix with that. Also, even if you could, you know, make them survive the explosion, get them airborne, they weigh enough, they're not going to go more than a mile. And then there's the whole landing and going splat on the ground. So yeah, there's kind of a lot of problems with this supposed flood. Now that that's settled, we celebrate with ice cream.